Hello and welcome to another presentation by GSWAC, not a council. This is an unofficial presentation about national governance and Girl Scouting. And I'm your host, Amy Brown. Just want to say something real quick. This is unofficial. It is not affiliated with any council or GSUSA. This is just me. I'm the author of the Girl Scout with a Cause blog. And I just love to put these presentations on, so I hope it will be beneficial. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a troop leader of both a regular troop and Trailblazer. I'm also on my service unit team, and I served as a council delegate for 5 years and a national delegate in 2017. And I love governance and Girl Scouting. I don't know why. I kind of fell into it. I just started studying it when I became a council delegate, and I just love it. And yeah, I'm so dorky that I even collect blue books through the years. And I love the history of this organization, and I feel like the blue books, that's just kind of a way you see how the movement has formed throughout the years. So I don't know, you may have just turned it off when I said that. But anyway, what this is, it's going to be a very high level overview of national governance and Girl Scouting. This is for, someone, if you're a national delegate, maybe your training or orientation wasn't all that thorough, or you just want to know more about our movement and our organization and how it runs at the top. This would be for you. So, just to tell you a little bit about myself quick. Well, I've already told you about myself. What am I saying? But anyway, I want to put this disclaimer in here. Sometimes I say things that may be kind of off the wall, and people may think they're funny or strange, or maybe they think both. But just so you know, you've got fair warning. All right, we're going to go on and get into this. So this is what we're going to cover. The Girl Scouting structure, the relationship between GSUSA and councils, the Blue Book of Basic Documents, my favorite, who's who in national governance, and then the National Council session. So this is probably something that everyone is probably familiar with, the Girl Scouting structure. As we know, girls are at the center of our organization and our movement. From there, it goes to service unit, council, GSUSA, and then WAGs. So if you're a girl or volunteer, you are part of a service unit, which is part of a council. You're a member of GSUSA, and by association, you are also a member of WAGs. So this question comes up a lot. You see this in Facebook groups and discussion groups and whatnot. But people want to know, are councils run by GSUSA? Sometimes they have a question about their council, or they just want to go, they want to go up to the top of the ladder, and they think that they can, get some answers from GSUSA. So, are councils run by GSUSA? No, they're not. They are not. Our organization operates as a federation, much like our country does, where you've got the federal government and then you've got states. So you can have state laws, but they cannot override federal laws. And states have some autonomous, and they have some autonomy. Same with councils, within parameters. They are registered as individual 501c3, also known as nonprofits, in the state that they're incorporated in. Now, if you're in a council that has if it's got 2 or more states that make up its membership, then it's going to be incorporated in one of those states. You'll just have to figure out which one. You have to go to the Secretary of State website and find where it's incorporated. And the Secretary of State is going to have on file like the Articles of Incorporation and its bylaws and just whatever other, whatever documents that the particular state needs. And that's different from state to state. Each council has its own local board of directors who hires the CEO, and then the CEO hires the staff, and it goes on from there. Now, so how does this tie in? How does this tie in with GSUSA? Councils are issued charters from GSUSA, and they have to meet certain criteria and standards as a part of that. And they get, with that charter, they get certain benefits and so on and so forth. And like I said, they have autonomy within certain parameters. Okay, the Blue Book of Basic Documents. Everybody needs to know what the Blue Book is. It is the Bible of our organization. And if you are a national delegate, you have to read this. I mandate you to read this. And not just that, don't just flip through it, because it can be, I know, it could be kind of boring. You need to really be familiar with it. Don't memorize it like I do. I'm just kidding. I don't have it memorized. I do, everyone jokes that I do, but I don't know, maybe a little bit. But anyway, you need to be familiar with what's in it. And I recommend that everybody, even if you're just a troop volunteer, or not just, but you know, you're just as important as, or rather, you're the most important person. I don't know, I'm starting to ramble at this point. But anyway, I think everybody needs to read the Blue Book. Used to, when new Blue Book editions came out, there was a Leader's Digest that had the changes that were made at the past National Council session, and bylaws and things of that. I'm sorry, the policies, not bylaws. And it was just something that everyone was familiar with, and it just really helped to kind of tie everything in. And we don't do that anymore, and I wish we did. But what's in the Blue Book is the GSUSA Constitution, bylaws, policies, credentials, criteria and standards, and the Congressional Charter. And so we're going to go through each section really quickly. All right, the GSUSA Constitution. I'm going to read off from Robert's Rules what a constitution is. It could be a constitution or the bylaws. It depends, you know, some of the larger organizations have both, which we do. Some councils usually have just bylaws. But anyway, they are the documents that contain its own basic rules relating principally to itself as an organization rather than the parliamentary procedure that it follows. So in other words, it's just the hard and steadfast rules that we have to follow. And so these are just some of the things that you're going to find within the Constitution. The purpose, our purpose, the National Council session, it establishes these things. It discusses how proposals come to the National Council session. It establishes the National Board and the National Board Development Committee. It talks about officers, and then just, you know, one of the things is finance. But there's a bunch of other topics that are covered too, but these are kind of the high points. Next is the bylaws. This is kind of the more nitty-gritty. They go into more detail than the Constitution. And just so you know, the Constitution always supersedes the bylaws. So the bylaws cannot override the Constitution. And things that you're going to find in it are the establishment of meetings of the National Board of Directors. It goes into more details about the officers. It talks about the International Commissioner. It sets up committees. It also goes into more detail about finances. And then it also it lists the geographical areas of Girl Scouting. Policies. Everybody needs to read this, because sometimes I'll hear people say, well, why do we do things the way we do? Like, what's the deal with fundraising? If you go to the Blue Book, you will see these policies. And what it does is it states the principles, rules, and guidelines. So councils have some operational independence according to our structure, but these things govern the entire organization, and they cannot be changed or overridden by councils. They have to stick to these things. And basically, you can see here endorsements, trademark, marketing, internet sales, fundraising. Talks about council and the overseas, not really council, I guess. I'm not sure what the USA GSO, but they're included. They're part of our organization. Membership registration, security membership data, pluralism and diversity, human resources, and spirituality and religion. The credentials section. What it does is it lists the requirements for certificates of membership, procedures, and standards for local council charters and all other credentials. These are just the highlights. It talks about membership and dues. Like I said, it establishes the charters, the standards for a Girl Scout Council, and also how to start its jurisdiction and how to change it. And it's got the procedures for charters. And I'm just going to read off, as stated in the Blue Book, the criteria and standards for an effective Girl Scout Council are established by the National Board of Directors to delineate the way in which Girl Scout councils are expected to fulfill their charter requirements. So councils are judged on these 3 criteria: mission delivery, governance and administration, and resource development and community engagement. Now, last but not least is the Congressional Charter. This was conferred on GSUSA by Congress in 1950, and it sets forth our organization, purposes, governing body, powers, the exclusive rights to emblems, badges, marks, and words, its restrictions, and it used to state, well, it's still in there, it talks about that we have to put it on an annual report, but it's no longer required as of 2000. And the Congressional Charter is the top rung. The bylaws cannot override the GSUSA Constitution, and the Constitution cannot override the Congressional Charter. And the only body that can change the Congressional Charter is Congress. Period. End of discussion. So that is the Blue Book. All right, so who's who? Who's who in national governance? It's the National Council, the National Board of Directors, and the National Board Development Committee. So first up is the National Council. So it was established in 1915, so right at the very beginning. It meets every 3 years, and according to the Constitution, it is set as the coordinating head of the Girl Scout movement in the United States. So it is the grand poobah. Now, who's a part of the National Council? You've got delegates from local councils, which could be girls, volunteers, operational volunteers, and council staff. You've got delegates from GSUSA Girl Scout Overseas, National Board of Directors, members of the National Board Development Committee, past presidents of GSUSA, and other, I find this interesting, other persons who are elected by the National Council. So I just want to say, wouldn't it be really cool? That would be so cool if you were voted in by the National Council. That would be really cool if I make a motion to elect Amy Brown as a part of the National Council. That would be fabulous. So I just wanted to say that would be so cool. Okay, that was one of those really odd things that just come out of my mouth. Okay, so what does the National Council do? These are just a few of the things. I just want to hit the high points. It is the only body that can amend the Constitution. It acts on proposals that are brought by councils or the National Board. They guide the National Board upon the general lines of direction of the movement and the program as the coordinating head. It establishes requirements for certificates of all membership, local council charters, and all other credentials. And it also elects the National Board of Directors and the NBDC. It's kind of hard to say, NBDC. I wanted to throw this in. Check out this National Council. So the maximum size of the National Council right now is at 1,500, and there is a certain formula that GSUSA comes up with to establish how many delegates each council is elected or appointed. But check this out. At one point, the National Council had 5,000 members. And this is from 1953, and I don't know how many are in this picture, but check this out. And I don't know how they voted. I mean, I really don't. I guess they did everything by paper ballot. Can you imagine having to count all those? That is crazy. So I just love this picture. Okay, next up is the National Board. There are 25 members at large. There's 5 officers. The chair of the National Board Development Committee, if they're not already a member of the National Board. The national CEO is ex officio non-voting member, and ex officio means by virtue of the office. So if you are the national CEO, you're just automatically a member of the National Board. Members' terms run for 3 years, and they are elected by the National Council. Now, what do? Again, this is just a few of their duties. They administer the requirements for the credentials established by the National Council. They establish standards. They issue standards, procedures, and credentials. They manage the affairs of the corporation between sessions of the National Council, and they appoint a national CEO. And like I said, this is just a little bit of what they do. And this picture, that's the National Board, and NBDC from 2017. That's the one I went to. So there they all are. Next, the National Board Development Committee. They are also elected by the National Council. They identify and recommend a slate of officers and potential board members. And what a slate is, it's just a list of candidates. And just so you know, the way that they're elected at the National Council session is the Board Development Committee brings forth the slate, and it's voted on as a whole. So you don't specifically vote on members themselves unless someone is nominated from the floor, and that's a whole nother procedure I'm not going to get into right now. But they just put together the slate, and you say, yes, we want to pass the slate, and or no. I don't know when that would happen, but you could vote down the slate, but it's very rare. They also work with the National Board to assess its development and effectiveness. So if there's something that something needs to be shored up, they will work to make sure that they have the necessary skills that they need to be successful. It consists of 7 members plus the national CEO's ex officio non-voting member, and their term also runs for 3 years. I want to stick this in too. This is the interdependence of the councils in the national organization. And as you can see, you've got the National Council, National Board of Directors, and Girl Scout councils. And I think that the National Council is the glue that fits all of this together. And what is this? What is the democratic process in Girl Scouting? Now, if you've read my blog or if you know me, you know I'm all about the democratic process. I think it is the key to our success for why our organization has lasted as long as it does. So what is the democratic process? It is a basic belief of the Girl Scout movement defined as the various means or avenues through which the membership can influence decisions and activities in matter of governance and management and have access to those responsible for decision making. And that is from the monograph Implementing the Democratic Process in Girl Scouting. It's from 1999. If you are like me and you're a governance nerd, you've got to read this. It is so good, and you can find a copy of it on my blog or on GSG, which I'll talk about later. But like I said, I think this is the key to our success because it gives everyone the opportunity to speak. Members, volunteers, older girls, even younger girls too. It all fits together. It is the democratic process. All right, next is the National Council session. It's held every 3 years, and it's a meeting of the National Council, the National Board, and the National Board Development Committee. Some of the things that you'll hear are the stewardship report, the keynote speakers, national delegates will vote on proposals, and there will be discussion topics. Now, this year in 2020 is virtual, so they've already had the stewardship report, and they're having the keynote speakers. Those are going to be separate events. They're not going to be during the meeting itself, but it's basically just a business meeting, and I was just amazed by it. I was totally entranced. Again, I love this stuff, and it was just really neat to see this all come together on the national stage. So real quick, what are some things that national delegates take action on during the National Council session? Some of the things are the credential reports, the adoption of the standing rules, the adoption of the agenda or the program, proposals. Like I said, those are brought by either councils or the National Board, and then the election of the National Board and the National Board Development Committee. All right, like I said, this was just a really, really high level. If you want to know more, definitely check out GSG, girlscoutgovernance.com. Visit the National Delegate Primer on the front page. There's also a Council Delegate Primer that will give you some more information too. There are a variety of articles that go way into more detail than I did just now. Also, I highly recommend that you go to the menu at the top and click on the frequently asked questions there, and there's going to be a variety of topics, and there are tons of question and answers about specifics. There's a glossary of all the terms. If you want to know, like here, let me show you an example. This is just about the National Council section. I mean, check that this is only half the page of the questions. What constitutes a quorum? What is a quorum? Where can I find minutes? I mean, this is just a whole bunch of stuff. So check it out. You know, you're going to find a lot more information there. So one last thought. Sometimes, you know, as troop leaders or volunteers or whoever we are, we kind of get caught up in our little circle, and we forget that we are part of the bigger picture, of of the movement, and the responsibility for this movement and the democratic process. And this is in the preamble of the GSUSA Constitution. The ultimate responsibility for the Girl Scout movement rests with its members. I just want to stress that, because if we don't look beyond what we're doing, I think that we need to make sure that Girl Scouts is around for the future and for future girls. You know, it's not about just the girls that we serve today. It's about the ones in the future. So hopefully this will kind of help with seeing the big picture and how it all is put together. Well, that's it. Like I said, this was really quick. I also did a presentation on parliamentary procedure for the National Council session. It does go into a little more detail, kind of on a different realm, if you will, about what I just went through. If you're a national delegate and, you know, maybe you thought your council orientation for parliamentary procedure, you know, maybe you need a little bit more, definitely watch this. If you are just going to be a visitor to a National Council session and you want to keep up with what's going on, definitely watch this. I made it just the other day, and you can find it on YouTube, and I'll also put a link to it in the description. And also, stop by and visit my blog. I have written a lot about national governance. I write about other things too, believe it or not. But I have written a variety of articles about not just this upcoming 2020, but some of the past ones as well. And I will also put the address to this in the description. So thank you. I hope this has been helpful, and I will talk to you later.